So I'm listening to this presentation and I'm incredulous enough to be like, I don't believe anything this guy's saying. And the book Tragedy and Hope that he was talking about, he tells this whole story and it comes out of this book. So then the book is banned. They destroyed the printing plates. You can't get it. So I went and I found a first edition copy of Tragedy and Hope in 2004. And it cost me like $360 or something. It was like
Yeah,
$369.
it's funny though how much money those books cost. You know, like the books that I just talked about too, like $500, $600, $700 to get a book.
So I'm digging into that book and it's really dry history. And there's only a couple pages in there meant to illustrate what's really going on. And the rest of the stuff is just noise to hide that signal. So by the time I got to pages 52 through 54, he's like, here's what's going on. And I was like, wow, I've heard about the Rothschild family on the internet, but I thought it was conspiracy theory. I thought there's nothing there. I thought I'd be stupid to look into it. And what Carol Quigley, who was a Georgetown professor of foreign service, who was a mentor to Bill Clinton, who was a Rhodes scholar, and Quigley was also mentored by a Rhodes scholar named Crane Brinton. So there's this continuity of power and facilitating that power with an education system. And then I was like, what is this all about? So Quigley made it credible enough for me. Monteith didn't. He made me incredulous and I had to look him up and fact check him. And then I found out, wow, there's a lot more to that story that's real than I would have ever guessed. So I dig into Tragedy and Hope, the book. It's 1,300
and Bill
pages.
Clinton, just so people at home, like Bill Clinton during his first inauguration said there's two people he liked to thank, and one was JFK and the other one was Carol Quigley. So this is not some nobody, just so people at home who've never heard of this before. This is one of two guys that Bill Clinton mentioned by name in his inauguration.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. And if Bill Clinton wasn't a Rhodes Scholar, he would not have been governor of Arkansas. He wouldn't have been reigning his policy and power over the situation at MENA. He wouldn't have inherited that position from Winthrop Rockefeller, right? There's a whole bunch of things that wouldn't have happened if he hadn't been anglicized. And that's what the Rhodes Scholarship system does. It takes Americans. This is also shown in the recent Guy Ritchie movie, The Gentleman. Mickey is an American Rhodes Scholar, a kid with aptitude but not social position. Then you take them and put them in Oxford, and then they control that person when they come back to America. There's, funnily enough, I'll tell the story, but to jump to the end part, George Stephanopoulos, Bill Clinton, Zeke Emanuel, who's in charge of this whole COVID thing right now, Rachel Maddow.
And he was also part of Death Panel. So I mean,
right.
These are all
Rhodes Scholars carrying out the.
Yeah, like 10 years ago, he's saying, people shouldn't live past the age of 75, as he was one of the Obamacare architects, along with Jonathan Gruber, who said it is something along the lines of the only reason we're able to get this passed is the ignorance of the American public and then also lack of transparency. And it's just, it's just so frustrating. But yes, sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah, so these are all Rhodes Scholars that are at play in America today. Dr. Naomi Klein. No, Dr. Naomi Wolf. No, yeah. Dr. Naomi Wolf that said the other day that if I'd have known that there's going to be more lockdowns, I wouldn't have voted for Biden. I'm like, you're a Rhodes Scholar. You're on the other side of this narrative. You're with the people who still support the opium monopoly and want monarchical power in the world because it facilitates all of that, right? Very cozy relationship.
Yeah.
Right. So when you got, So when you got these Rhodes Scholars that are in play today, it's just good to see what is a Rhodes Scholar? Where do these people come from? What's the philosophy behind all this? And that's what Tragedy and Hope, the book, unveils. And on like page 935 or 960, Quigley all of a sudden goes into Council on Foreign Relations and how it came from Cecil Rhodes's last will and testament. And then how power flows in America from the top down. Now, the interesting thing about this book is this: Tragedy and Hope was published in 1966 after Kennedy's assassinated. There's a much smaller version of this story, and it's called The Anglo-American Establishment. That's the first book Quigley wrote in 1948. It was not published until after he died because he knew his stated feelings in a New York Times interview with Rudy Maxa in like 1976. He said, I can't talk about this because they'll destroy our career or worse. And he has them stop the tape in the interview and it ends. So Anglo-American Establishment gives you the concise, here's the people, here's the names, the places, here's the agreements. This is how everything's working. He was scared to have that published during his lifetime. So it's not published till 1981. Okay. So the 1981 book was actually written, or the 1981 book was actually written in 1948. And then from 20 years or 18 years from 1948, Quigley had access to the Council on Foreign Relations documents, and he wrote Tragedy and Hope, A History of the World in Our Time. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics. He was also an excellent history professor. He wrote a book called The Evolution of Civilizations, which shows this pattern of civilizations rise and fall through time. And then you could find where we are now. That's very interesting. But getting back to like the overall theme. So that 1966 textbook that I then paid $369 for and got it. And so that made it real for me. It's in a book from the 60s by a college professor who's very well esteemed. I should go look for more. And then I found there must be 40 or 50 autobiographies and biographies of the Rothschilds through the last 200 years. There's Count Egon Corti. Count Corti is one of the guys who made a book about them back in like the early 1900s. So there's a broad spectrum of available information that they have authorized about themselves. So it's no longer for me a conspiracy theory. Now I can read the history. I can read Dr. Neil Ferguson's 2-volume set and be left with, that's a great story, but where's all the artifacts and evidence you used to make that story? And then from that incredulity, I went into the English and the French archives that are available online still today. And you can search the private papers and the letters and the artifacts and the books. And it's kind of overwhelming because it's just so there right in front of anyone who wants to look. And yet you don't hear about it anywhere, which I always thought was
Imperial College's Neil Ferguson who had.
No, it's a different one. This is Dr. Neil Ferguson.
Okay.
And it's spelled Niall Ferguson. And he's from Harvard. But I believe he's Scottish. And when COVID came around and there's this other one from the Imperial College, it got confusing for me. So thank you for clearing that up because I don't want to confuse anybody. It's quite the opposite.
I didn't know that there was two big globalist scumbags with the same name. So okay, we got it. So if you guys enjoyed that clip, please head over to timandjohnshow.com to watch the full episode. You can also get the audio version on the website as well, in addition to your favorite podcasting app. At timandjohnshow.com, you can also sign up for our email list, which is the first place you'll gain access to our long format shows. These shows are self-hosted, so if you want them first, you have to be on the email list or frequently check our website. You won't get the videos first, but you can also find them on odyssey.tv, lbry.tv, and bitshoot.com. And if you are happy with getting the clips after everyone else, then you can keep watching us on YouTube, in which case we ask that you smash that like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and turn on all notifications. Thank you.